as educators to do this, especially on the most important standards that we've identified for our students. If I just look at the standard construct explanations using reasoning, correct sequence, examples, and details with significant and pertinent information and data, while acknowledging the strengths and weaknesses of the explanations given its purpose. That's a lot. Like, how in the world, how am I going to do that? How am I going to assess it? How am I going to teach it? I really don't have that great of an idea. What unpacking the standard does is it chunks it up into much more manageable parts, I would say, where I think it becomes much easier to see the learning progression that's going to take place in how we are going to instruct on this standard, and then it's also going to give us better insight into how we are going to assess on this standard. Not every standard is this complex, but we thought we would go ahead and use it for today's purposes. So the next step here would be create I can statements based on the work that we've done. So what we're looking for are the verbs. And normally you take that verb and you put I can in front of it. But there's going to be a couple curveballs I'm going to throw you as we're doing this. So if I'm just going to start out, how do I make these I can statements? Okay, I'm looking at I can. Where's the first verb? Construct. Okay, I can construct explanations using reasoning. Here's a concept. Construct explanations, or explanations was one of the concepts I believe we had identified. I can construct explanations, if I can get out of that, using reasoning. So that's one that I would do. Find another verb. I can acknowledge strengths of my explanation. And when we did this as a team last week, we felt that it was important to separate strengths and weaknesses, because we said some kids might be able to identify strengths but struggle with weaknesses, or vice versa. I can acknowledge weaknesses. I know I misspelled. Weaknesses of my explanation. Okay? I skipped around in how this is shown because I didn't do all my I can construct. So I go back to I can construct explanations using correct sequence. I can construct explanations with examples, details, pertinent information, and data. I can identify the purpose of my explanation. Okay. So once again, kind of taking it back through the process, and then I'll let any of the facilitators or Elena, if you want to chime in with any additional information, that's fine. But what we're doing, we're looking for the action words, the verbs, and we're highlighting them yellow. We're looking for content, concepts, and vocab, and we are going to underline them. These are things that would require direct instruction. Then we are going to italicize things that we're thinking as we are instructing. We're going to formatively assess, and then we bold what we would think would end up being assessed summatively. Now, for the purpose of today, and we're not going to be getting in, this is going to be a longer process, I would say. For the purpose of today, and your facilitators will talk about this, we're probably going to do at least one, you're going to do at least one together as a group, maybe more than one. And then you're also, as you're selecting power standards to unpack, as myself, as an instructor that I have courses that I've identified power standards in, I'm going to select a power standard. I believe we said like we'd be teaching in December. Isn't that what we said? End of November, December. So that'll lend itself to work that we'll be doing in November and December, because then we'll start looking exactly at, how are we assessing, how are we going to use these I can statements as part of formative and summative assessments, which we're not to that point now. Right now, we want to work on unpacking these power standards that we've identified. And I cannot stress enough that you're going to start doing this, and you're going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't feel right. I don't think this is good. That's because these were the thoughts that I had as I was doing them with Elena. Boy, I don't know. And what I did right here is this quality work. I don't know if it's exceeding expectations. I don't know if it's a 4. It's probably somewhere between a 2 and a 3. I've either met the expectation or I'm nearing it. I'm not an expert at doing this, okay? And I'm not going to stand up here and pretend that I am. But there is a lot of power in having all of the other professionals that teach in the content areas that you teach to be there to help you and you help them.